Hi, this is Tom Fewer, and this is Name in Progress. Tonight for this cast, we will be doing something a little different, similar to a Q&A, but in podcast form. We're going to be covering several subjects, but all under the umbrella of art and how it has affected our lives. I'm joined tonight by a few other members of non-professionals. I'll let them introduce themselves.
This is Gavins Alter.
Hello, I'm Harris.
And I'm Explosive Rose.
All right, thank you guys. So first we'll start off with probably one of the more iconic forms of art, especially in the past 15 to 20 years, film. We'll do this in a couple different ways. We'll cover movies now, and then we'll do shows a little later. So we'll start off with Gavin, since you're alphabetically first. What movie would you say kind of changed you? What had an impact that made you who you are today?
There's two vying for this slot, and they both came into my life at about the same time. I'll lead with Fight Club. Not necessarily for like a majority of the story, fighting with yourself, as that's one of the main parts of it. But there's a line in that movie that it's not until you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. And that one let me know that even if you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up. And that's persisted with me throughout my teen years into where I'm at today. So a lot of positive messages from that movie, although it seems like a pretty brash movie. And then that's followed up with Dune. Just the Dune series as a whole, the movies, or I guess it was more of a mini-series, but it stuck out to me. Just the mannerisms, the attitudes, the respect, the honor that the Fremen had, so on and so forth. I could gush about that entire franchise for a while. But those two really helped define a couple core characteristics within me that have stuck through to today.
I'd say my favorite scene out of Fight Club was whenever he says, "I'm Jack's smirking revenge," and Ed Norton just beats the shit out of himself.
I have that movie. Still have yet to watch it.
Oh, it's good. I think my favorite scene from that was just the one where he has the gun and he's like, "My eyes are open," and that was so fucking cool.
Yeah, that seems like you feel chills as soon as he realizes, I am me, I am in control, and the whole thing just flips.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I'm starting the Dune books, so I don't know a lot of what you're saying because I'm about 30 pages in, but I'm on book one. I'm looking forward to being part of that group now.
It is a very rich and satisfying series. I'll let you know that much.
I'd read them, but I'm in the middle of a different book right now. Started it. I haven't read in a while, but I have another one I have to read afterwards. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So, Harris, were there any movies in particular that come to mind that helped form your character?
I would say, now this is going to piss off a lot of people I know, but I preferred the movies in Lord of the Rings as opposed to the books.
Nice.
But anyway, so it's because it was kind of a tradition. We would watch the trilogy every spring because the colors were so vibrant and just cool, and just it felt good to watch during that time. Although the third movie in particular is one that strikes me the most. Particularly towards the end when Sam just like gets Frodo, he's like, "Let us be rid of it," and I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. It did hit a chord for me. Like, in my life, I've dealt with depression, things like that. And whenever I saw Sam literally heave Frodo up on his shoulders, that made me think of my friends, IRL, how they literally picked me up out of the gutter and carried me until I could go on my own, and that really struck a chord with me. And it also taught me to be a little more vigilant towards the conditions of those around me and try to be a bit more empathetic, just have empathy.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. Especially with that with that example that you gave. That's a good thing to learn from entertainment. It's funny how people overlook these types of situations where you can grow a lot as a person by just absorbing a piece of entertainment rather than being taught that in a school or by your parents or anything like that. It's our generation is the generation of entertainment. And that is
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so far very good examples of that. How about you, Matt? Any movies?
So I actually have 3.
Okay.
The first one is The Princess Bride. It's my absolute favorite movie of all time. No movie in the history of movies will ever top it or ever come close. The reason that this movie is my favorite is mostly because it just brought so much joy in my family just closer together. It's a movie that I'll quote constantly if I'm like in the right situation. It's a movie my dad will say the best lines from, and my whole family it all brought us kind of closer together and brought us laughter, and a lot of good things came from that movie. And it's kind of the movie that defines, my family as a whole. It taught me that these people are here for me and they are my brothers and sisters. And the other movie one of the other movies, I guess, is Star Wars. All of it. And that Star Wars has just been that franchise for me that has just dug deep down into me and been like, hey, you're gonna be all right, like Luke goes through all this shit, Anakin goes through all this shit, and in the end they come out, Anakin gets redeemed, spoiler alert. And Luke has the whole thing with his father, and the end of the road, and everything turns out okay, and it's just like everything's gonna be okay. And then the third one is the Harry Potter franchise, similar to The Princess Bride, but these movies have been staples of me and my brothers and sisters. And every time we get together, every time we are in the same room, we're almost always talking about Harry Potter or The Princess Bride or some other movie, and constantly wanting to get together. And we actually saw several of the Harry Potter movies together as a group. We all went out, we would all go out, and whichever Harry Potter movie was coming out, I would go out with them, and we'd just have a good time. And yeah. And they just kind of taught me that, these people do truly, truly love me. And if I need them to, they'll just the ground.
Oh yeah.
It instills that really deep sense of camaraderie that once you find a place, you can really call those people family, and it brings you and your family closer. That's always a good thing to have.
Especially since my parents got divorced when I was very young. I was 8, I think. And these movies have helped knit me and my siblings together, and we've always been pretty close. But because of those movies, we're even closer than we ever were, and probably ever will be, because it's such a fantastic franchise to just fanboy or girl over. And that's what we all kind of did at the same time.
Well, it's good having something common to bind you together. I never had the camaraderie with my family because my family went through a divorce as well. My father and mother separated, and I have two brothers. One of them I don't talk to, and the other one I only see maybe once a year. So I don't have that type of connection, and it definitely would have been nice to have something like that. But that having something like that in common that can really bind you guys together is fantastic.
Yeah, we've read all the books together too. Like every
And
time.
that's a commitment right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, not necessarily at the same time, but we read the
books.
books.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I'd say I've got two movies as well. These are two movies in a general statement, but these ones are a little off wall, and I'll explain them. One of them that came to mind was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Ooh, I need to see that one.
Oh my god.
It's on Netflix. Ooh. That's on my list.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Love Jim Carrey too.
I won't give up. I'll try not to give up any plot points or anything like that, but what I learned from that film is that life is life, and bad memories, even if they're bad, are important because they're part of who you are. And in that movie, he tries to remove painful memories from a breakup with somebody that he was, very in love with, and spends the rest of that movie basically trying to get those memories back. And, that's a very general statement. There's a lot that goes on. It's a very great movie. But it taught me that even the bad times in life that you would want so desperately to forget are very important. And that goes on to actually, this is another one that wasn't even on my list until just now, but Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. And not anything really about the plot, not really anything about the premise, but the idea of it taught me that not to be afraid of my nightmares, because I used to be plagued with terrible nightmares when I was younger. And I realized that I learned so much more about myself from my nightmares, and that my dreams are just flighty, wonderful dreams about doing stuff and fucking celebrities, whatever kids think about when they're that young. But the nightmares really tear deep into your psyche. And one of the things I've always said, which I put into a poem at one point, was I'll always forget my dream. I'll always forget my dreams, and that doesn't bother me. But I'll always remember my nightmares. And it's for that reason. The other movie that was on my list, I just had to kind of branch off there for a moment. The Lovely Bones.
Ooh, I know that one.
I need to see.
Oh, yes. Very tear-jerking movie. It's about a girl. You can even read it in the synopsis. She's a 14-year-old girl who gets murdered. And it's still from her perspective. So she's watching her family grieve, and she's watching her killer go throughout his daily life and everything like that. And it really struck a chord because it shows the quality of life. Because I've been in dark places as well in the past where, you get depressed and you start having thoughts like, God, this, what would really happen if I was gone? I mean, would it really be that big of a deal if I just died right now? And it was that movie that through her eyes, she could see just how much the people around her were suffering. And it just kind of, it put that in perspective where it's, I mean, I understand the feeling of wanting to do that because I've been there. But the way I got through it is I thought of it as the coward's way out. You are taking the easy route and then putting all of that weight that you had on the people around you. And that, just the thought of that kind of drug me out of whatever slump I was in, at that time. And it's, besides that, it's a wonderful piece of film.
Right, like the
For the-
comparison to however much of a burden you might feel like you're being now, compare it to what would be a burden afterwards, and how much you're leaving on them after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the general statement was, because there's way too many of these, it's kind of like the anime where the lead character is the fucking 5'9" kid with black hair from high school. In anime, like any anime. But as far as movies, any movie where the main character is a just regular fucking guy, regular fucking kid who is put into a terrible situation where they have to dig and knuckle deep and use every bit of their will and anger to just rip through a problem, whether it's, getting away from somebody or saving somebody or something like that. Those types of movies always strike a chord because it shows that having a really good will to live and a will to help people is important. I mean, there's the likelihood of me being put into a circumstance like that is very, very minuscule. But ever since I became a dad, it's like the shit I think about every single fucking day. Like, what if
it becomes whole new real life?
Yeah, it becomes if something happens today, I need to be prepared to die for my family, and I am. And it's those types of films that really instilled that in me, where it's like, it's my responsibility. I feel like it's my responsibility as the dad, as the guy, as the husband, to stand in front of a gun for my wife and for my child.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as far as artistic mediums, we've got movies. What do we want to touch on next? I was thinking either TV shows or music.
I like TV shows.
TV shows? You want to do TV shows? What about you and what about Gavin and Harris? Do you guys want to do TV shows or music next?
Yeah. TV shows. That's fine.
TV shows? Okay.
TV
Gavin?
would be a quick gloss over for me, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, alphabetically, you again, Gavin. So if you wanted to, any shows that have changed your life?
Other than setting up like a joyful routine of like the Saturday morning slew that I would sit and watch when I was a kid, can't really think of too many that really stuck with me. But I guess, as far as development of who I am isn't always just about character, but about the things I enjoy. And the early Marvel franchises. So the animated X-Men, that like the Dark Phoenix series in that, Spider-Man, all of those little spin-offs that came, I ate those things like candy. It was how we watch certain web series today. I would sit and I would wait a week for that to come on TV. But unlike today, where, oops, I missed that episode. No, if I missed that episode, I missed that fucking episode. I will never know what happened until it comes back and replays next year. The struggles of pre-technological era. But yeah, those were really what drove me into the fandoms that I'm in now. Never really had an influence on character, but it's the reason I'm into the franchises I'm into to this day.
Which in a way can drive your personality a bit. I mean, anything that really just sticks you into kind of a niche can definitely have a positive impact. I mean, I can't think of any sort of negative.
It
I'm
definitely builds
certainly much more animated due to it.
definitely builds friendships too. Like some of the fandoms I'm in, I've built fantastic friendships out of because of what I was into earlier.
Yeah, because I mean, if you find somebody who's as passionate as you or more so, you'll talk for hours and not even realize it.
Yep.
And Harris, were there any shows that you can think of that help build your character?
If I had to pick one,
It doesn't have to be just one.
let me see. Let me see, indeed. All right, I got one. So, as a kid, you watch things and you don't quite get the themes behind them. You're just not old enough to understand. But when you go back, you see these themes represented in a way that you totally get when you're older. So for me, I remember as a kid, I would stay up on Saturdays to watch Toonami, and
Ooh.
a whole bunch of anime would air during that time. One in particular was Naruto. Now, I say this because, for one, I can't relate with Naruto or Sasuke. I'm going to make that clear right now. Naruto is just too socially inept. I guess that's appropriate. That's an appropriate word. Yeah.
Yeah, you have my approval.
And Sasuke is too much of a little edgelord to me. I couldn't
Also
relate to that.
approved.
Yep.
And let's be honest, Sakura was useless.
Dead ass toe.
Dead ass though.
But anyway, the one character I related to most in that whole thing was probably Rock Lee, simply because he's a badass for one. Like, people threw shit in his face his entire life, and he didn't give up. He was like Naruto in a way, but cooler, because he couldn't do any kind of jutsu. He could only use hand-to-hand combat. That was it. So he had to work his entire life to get to a point where he would go up against these guys who were born with this power, but he had to work for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the most epic fight in the entire series was whenever he fought Gaara.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the coolest fight in the entire series. Whenever he got up on that statue and dropped those weights, and the ground just freaking exploded, that's when you knew that he was holding back and that he was about to let it go. Like, seriously. And Gaara, he was just untouchable at that point. Everybody thought he couldn't be touched, for one. Like, nothing got close to him because he had that sand shield or whatever.
Yep.
But Lee, he didn't use any kind of jutsu. He just used his pure fucking speed and strength. That's it.
And he got touched.
Oh,
A lot.
he was a human pinball for a little while, okay?
Oh, yeah. And I think at one point his oh God, not senpai, sensei.
It's his senpai.
His sensei said that his jutsu was effort, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. And plus, the underlying theme with all that is that you work hard enough, you can make it. Like, Lee was one of those characters that he was the underdog, in a sense, because he couldn't do any of the jutsus that everyone else could. So he had to get up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
But man, oh man, I loved it whenever he got into a fight because it was just nothing but hardcore, hard-hitting action.
Yeah, and to kind of elaborate one, I'm going to spin off here. My favorite fight of Rock Lee, when he takes his quote-unquote medicine. Shot of fucking, I almost said shot of Sasuke.
Shot of Sasuke.
But he takes a shot of liquor, and that fight is just hilarious. But it's a message that kind of Tom has been instilling here recently with some of the games that we've been playing, and that's Rock Lee has a serious disadvantage where the only thing he can use is the taijutsu. He can't do anything else. But he doesn't consider that a disadvantage. He takes what he has and he makes that his advantage. So, so what if you can twist your hands and cast a sign? Before you're even done with the first signal, I'm in your face saying hi. It's that message that I kind of get from that too. It's a pretty good, strong one.
It's, like Batman too. He has a contingency plan for every member of the Justice League. Well, they all have superpowers. Batman has no powers, but he could kill every single one of them if he wanted to.
I fucking know it.
Batman.
All right, so Matt, how about you as far as TV shows?
You all might know mine already. It's pretty obvious, but Last Airbender, by far, it's not close either. Like, growing up, I watched that show religiously. Like, it would be on TV, and I would make sure I was at a TV at that time specifically to watch this show. And every single time I saw it, I didn't even necessarily see the episodes in order because obviously I couldn't catch every episode in order because of when they aired. But every time that I got the chance and I knew it was coming, I would set, and I would be there for either the start of the show or for when, the next episode was airing, or I'd get ready for it. And everything about it, from the characters to the fucking storyline, is perfection. It's absolute perfection. The writing is perfect. The action scenes are perfect. Even the filler episodes are good.
And there was a lot of really strong messages from Airbender too. It touched on really subtly and strongly touched on a lot of really good points.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily the story either. It's the character. I just relate to every single character in that show so much, and it basically shaped who I am right now. Like, the person you're hearing was shaped from that show. Because everything, like, my sarcasm comes from, Sokka. My goofiness comes from Aang. I may not be as good, but I work with what I have comes from, Toph, who's, blind. I don't have it like a physical disability or anything, but and Katara, it's just this awesome person, and that's kind of who I try to be, is that great, mentor to like younger kids, or not really younger, I guess, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'll say not in this group.
Just the groups. Yeah, the general groups is how I'm. I don't know. It just, everything about it. Even Zuko helped with a lot of stuff too, in me, and it's just an all-around brilliant show, and it just shaped all of my life, and it brought me out of this dark hole that I was in for a while, and everything about it, I can't say enough.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's iconic, and that's a good take from it. And I haven't watched all of it, but in what I've seen, it's very motivational.
It is. It definitely is. Like it just sets a goal, and you know what's going to happen in the end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you feel like this is like, again, you know how it's going to end, but you feel like that anything else could happen too. Like, you know that Aang is going to defeat the Fire Lord. You know that everything is going to, work out. But there's this sense of, but what if it doesn't? And what would it be like if it doesn't work out? And
It's like written in a sense that you can
yeah,
watch it again and still have that anxiety that this might
every
not
time, yep,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the other show, that the spinoff Legend of Korra. I watch that like every time I watch that, I always get my nerves get a little nuts in the second season, even though it's the worst season. But I always get my nerves up because of what happens. I won't go into too much because it's definitely worth a watch. But
I've seen a little bit of it. My wife was watching it.
it's a decent show. It's not Last Airbender, but it's pretty good for what it is.
What I have to say, as far as TV shows, one of mine is a little off the wall, but the other one is pretty fucking fanboyish. One of them was MASH.
Oh,
Yeah,
classic.
classic. Not only hilarious, but really, really fucking intense at points. And a lot of what I watched from that show when I was very young definitely helped shape my character. Hawkeye Pierce on MASH was always smiling, always laughing. And he is what made me understand the phrase laughter is the best medicine, because they are in a fucking desperate situation. And it feels like not only him, but the other characters were helping everybody stay up in a good mood. Like, there's certain plot points in that, like with what happened to Radar and the first Colonel. It was really touching, but it also had this camaraderie to it. Is where I took that from, was from MASH, because everybody was working together towards a goal. Everybody was a big family, and bad things happened enough in that show where at any point important characters would die and could die at any moment, and it was so visceral in a way, but as visceral as you can be in the fucking early 70s to early 80s.
it was just one of those cases where it would outline the horrors of war, in a sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. The other show, and I know this is the whole fucking fanboy shit, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Seen a few
Yeah.
episodes.
Okay,
Yeah.
which doctor? Which one?
Oh, come on, Dave Tennant.
Of course.
Yep.
Well, 10 and 11. Okay, so David Tennant. Well, actually, fuck it. 9, 10, and 11, and 12. Because there's so many points throughout that series where you see the Doctor breaking, but you know he's going to win. The trick is how he's going to win. And that is where I learned there is always a way to beat something. No matter how insurmountable the odds are. Yeah, having a time machine and a magic screwdriver is pretty handy, but they were playing checkers and he was playing chess. It was his wit that got him through that shit. And watching the Doctor from 9, 10, 11, and 12, you learn so many things about loss and perseverance. Oh, with 12, there was that episode with Peter Capaldi where, no, was it Peter Capaldi? Or was that Matt Smith? It was Peter Capaldi, actually, when he got stuck in that prison for like millions of years. And he kept dying over and over again. And every single time he would make it to the same place and punch a wall made of crystal that was like 30 feet thick. And it took him millions of years and, of course, millions of punches. But the further he got and kept getting killed over and over again, he finally got through the wall and into his TARDIS. And he came out the other side, went to Gallifrey, and was like, "You guys fucked up. Bad." It's like, yeah, I made it out.
You guys suck, and I'm fucking awesome.
Exactly. And, watching, I mean, you could go into this for hours, which I won't. But if you haven't picked up the series, I would, because the amount of lessons, the amount of things you could take from that show are as easily as you could look up how many fucking episodes there are.
If you see the weeping angels, you shit bricks.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear. They give
Like,
me nightmares.
No,
They
Weeping
can
Angels.
fuck off. Oh, God.
Weeping Angels with 10 was the first time I saw Doctor Who. I had no interest in the show at all. I just woke up in the middle of the fucking night and it was on BBC. I was watching Top Gear earlier and fell asleep. And this years ago, of course, but I thought I was watching a movie. And the Weeping Angels, the first episode that had the Weeping Angels in it, was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so fucking good. And then when it fucking rolled credits and it's like Doctor Who, I was like, instant fan. I watched everything else.
One episode I did see, I have seen a couple, but the one episode I did see was that when they're in London, I think, and it's like right after some nuke fell on them, and all the little kid zombies are wearing gas masks.
Are you my mommy?
Yeah. Are you my mommy? Are you my mommy?
Oh, God.
It scared the shit out of me when I saw that.
Oh, yeah. But,
great episode.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But as far as the next medium, I think music. This is probably going to be a pretty good one and pretty diverse against the group. But Gavin, any specific artists, any albums or songs specifically that stir your loins?
Nice.
Loins, Lords of Acid, but that's another topic for another day. And some of the startings of some of the Rob Zombie songs. I mean, let's face it, it's a moaning woman. What fucking teenage boy didn't get a stiffy listening to Rob Zombie?
Right up.
Tom has a stiffy already. Just talking about it gives Tom a stiffy.
Yeah, I got a story about Rob Zombie a little later. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Let's go.
As far as a persistent band that stuck with me, and gonna get a lot of mixed reviews here, Metallica.
Ooh,
oh,
yes.
Pre-Reload Metallica. There were a few songs on Reload that I enjoyed, but in my opinion, everything that's come out after that has been either fan service or rushed. It's not them. I mean, it's like Kiss going on their last tour for the 7th time.
I'm sorry, I can't relate because I'm a quote Metallica whore.
Damn.
Gav, you would get along well.
The old school stuff is where it got me, because even the song Call of Cthulhu, there's no lyrics in that song whatsoever. It is just an instrumental. Absolutely beautiful piece of music from Metallica. And if I'm in it wouldn't matter what mood I'm in. If I just needed to chill, that would put me in the place. If I needed something to match my sorrow, Metallica had it. If I needed something to help me distract and move past something or push through a goal, Metallica had it. I used Metallica in a book report for one of my classes. They're like, what is a piece of media that refers to a major event, any kind of major event? And I went, the Creeping Death. It is the song about the plagues that rain down during the 10 Commandments phase of the whole Bible. Got a nail on that fucking thing, thanks to Metallica.
Nice.
but they're the one band that has rung true for me through the ages. It doesn't matter what mood I'm in to this day. If I know I need something to send me in a certain direction, I pick an album, pick a song, and I'm there without fail.
Dude, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And just to spread it, it's been metal. Metal has been like my emotional support. And then dubstep. I discovered, I'd say like 5 or 6 years ago, and at first I was just like everyone else who eventually turns over to it, is it sounds like robots fucking each other. It sounds terrible.
You're not wrong.
But there are certain artists who do actually treat it like an art form and can compose some really good stuff. That's what I use for either chill mentality, like playing games, or if I need energy. I can turn to dubstep to just, I guess, just trick those signals in my brain to thinking this is where we need to be, whether it's adrenaline or sedation. So yeah, metal and dubstep, and then Metallica rings above and beyond those. Mudvayne is a close second.
Gav, you would get along well with my 10-year-old nephew. Fucking loves Metallica.
Hell yeah.
He knows about, like...
Oh, bro, I was raised on that
everything.
Shit.
All right, so artists, albums, songs to you, Harris.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, so about that Rob Zombie story.
Here we go.
I remember scrolling through social media one day, and at that time, like, I was at a weird point to where I was listening to a whole bunch of different shit. One of them was Baby Metal, which, of course, that was a J-metal band, a J-rock band. And so I remember scrolling through, and I see this little snippet, okay? Rob Zombie had apparently defended the band against a group of haters.
Yep.
Yeah, like, I was kind of in dismay a little bit. Like, how? What is this? What reality have I fallen into? But yeah, he literally called out the internet trolls that were going after the members of Baby Metal, and he literally said, these three, or these four, will rock harder than you ever will. And, like, he just completely obliterated this internet troll. And that kind of put a little bit of hope in me for humanity. Just a small tad. Not gonna lie. Because these three, no matter what you say about them, they do what they love. You can't really fault that at all. But, of course, yeah, they are. But one in particular is Cell Dweller, for sure. Or Clayton, as he's otherwise known.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So, he's one of my absolute favorites. I remember hearing his songs the first time in Dead Rising 2. Because his songs were used for the boss themes for the Psychopaths. I started...
know that.
Yeah, like, I started listening to it, and I really, really loved his debut album, which was, oh man, it's one of those albums that I put on, and I turn the volume up in my car, and I just listen to, because it just sounds so atmospheric, and it just feels good to hear some of the electronic methods that he uses. Like, it just blends in with the rock and metal aesthetic perfectly. Just, oh my god, it's so good. He moved on to, like, scores and things like that. Like, he's doing the soundtrack for Killer Instinct and their seasons, which they rock hard. Like, oh my god. If you heard some of the themes for the characters, like Fulgore, like, he redid the one for Fulgore, and it's on par with Mick Gordon's original track. But I'd say my favorite album out of all of his work, definitely, it's an album called Offworld. And of course, it's not as heavy as his previous works. Like, he doesn't use many metal or, just loud and fast songs. No, they're all pretty melodic and almost sad in a way. But it's just something that gives you reflection and makes you think. And those are some of the best music pieces, in my opinion. Ones that make you reflect and think on what's going on with you. Mm-hmm. And Offworld is definitely one of those tracks that I just absolutely love for it.
Oh, definitely, especially in any circumstance where you can take that away from it is just art. I love that type of stuff. Matt, bands, albums, and songs to you?
This one's pretty easy for me. Absolute greatest band of all time, Queen.
So, not a bad choice.
A little history here. Back a bunch of years ago now, I was in, like, I was, fairly happy, but, like, it wasn't any dark shit. But I hadn't listened, like, I had listened to classic rock all my life. And then I started, like, offhand, my dad was singing Bohemian Rhapsody just out of nowhere for no reason. And I knew the song. Like, I knew of the song, and I knew some of the lyrics, and just the general being around that kind of music. And then I just started listening to them more. And I started getting into their other songs. Like, Under Pressure, Bicycle Race, fucking We Are the Champions, and all their other, like, I just started listening to more Queen, and then more Queen, and then more Queen, and then I kind of stopped listening to it. I didn't stop listening to them necessarily, but I kind of started listening to other music. And that's when things started to get a little dark for me. Because I didn't have this thing that just gave me hope and happiness. I don't know why I stopped. I don't know for what reason. I just started listening to other types of music, and I was starting, to decline a little just because I was not as happy. I was annoyed with everything. I would go into work and I'd just be pissed off all day, and I would talk to people still and joke around because that's who I am. That's how I get through the day. But I would still be frustrated and just not at all in a good mood at any point during the day. And then I just kind of got, like, I just fell off from there. Like, even then I was still okay. I just dropped. And then I started, being like, okay, I should just start listening to Queen more. And then I did. And then it just kept going and going and growing. And now that's what calms me down. If I'm in a bad mood, if I am pissed off or angry, or distracted at work, I turn on Queen and it's instant, like, okay, I'm here dancing a little and singing along, and it just twists my mind and is like, okay, you're calm now. You're hearing this beautiful, beautiful voice of Freddie Mercury, and it's like, okay, I am focused. I am, ready to go, and
just that soothing voice.
It's just such a perfect singer. And just everything about, it just, I can't say enough.
Well, as far as music for me, it's actually a pretty broad spectrum. One that has been a constant throughout my entire life has been classical piano specifically.
Ooh.
It was always a dream to learn piano. Never did. Got into computers instead, but c'est la vie. And I still listen to classical very, very regularly. It's the devil, like I've always said, the devil's in the details, and the best is in the basics. There's no words, there's just notes, and you take what you need from it at that moment. I can listen to the same in several different moods, and it can send me in whatever direction I need it to just by feeling the notes, and it's wonderful. I was a lot more specific when I was younger. Like I have 3 ones in particular, and a couple of them are going to be kind of emo rock stuff, but 30 Seconds to Mars when I was a teenager. Fuck yeah. Can't think of anything offhand because it's been so long. I think one of them was Marry Me or Break Me Down or something like that. That was one I used to listen to all the time. Linkin Park, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah, Linkin Park. Almost no words to describe just how much that probably influenced most of us.
Press F to
Yep.
pay respects.
Yeah, exactly. Off the wall here a little bit, Oasis. If you're not familiar, Wonderwall. They're like
Ooh.
diet Beatles, kind of.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
Know about Wonderwall.
Oh yes, Wonderwall. Wonderful song, and it's one of those that has longevity, where it's almost like a time machine for me. When I listen to Wonderwall, I'm back in high school. And it's the same thing with Linkin Park and 30 Seconds to Mars and all these older bands that I grew up with. It's just I can close my eyes and I'm sitting at my desk in my geography class with a headphone in my ear. And music's like a time machine to that regard.
It is definitely like a time machine. You are not wrong.
And there's I could touch on them individually if I went into it a little further, but there's a lot of songs by the mentioned artists that had specific songs that really, like Crawling by Linkin Park. Of course, one of their flagship songs that just about everybody on the planet has heard, digs deep. And it digs deep for a number of different reasons for any number of people, and that's what makes it such a great song, such a great band, is because everybody was listening to it for a different fucking reason, and everybody loved it.
That's kind of what Bohemian Rhapsody was for me too. Like that same style song. He sings about breaking or wanting to die. I just shot a man or killed a man.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, he's just breaking out of his shell, coming out as who he is. I can't relate. I'm not Freddie Mercury in any means, but it just helped me break out of my shell.
Oh yeah,
social barrier.
oh definitely, and that's what makes music great, is because it is. I would view it as it's a magical box of pills that'll make you feel any way that you want to feel. Like if I want to be calm and collected, I'll listen to I'll listen to one of 2 songs really. God, why do they Chopin, Nocturne. Number 5, I think. Classical, wonderful. Beethoven's God. Something about the night.
Symphony of the Night?
No, Harris, do you know what I'm talking about?
What's that?
Beethoven's one of his. It was in Bloodborne.
Was it Moonlight Sonata? I don't think so.
Yes, it was Moonlight Sonata. Moonlight Sonata, really great song. If I want to just chill out and keep calm, like a lot of the times when we are in a fast-paced game, high stress, huge amount of stress, fighting and stuff like that, to keep calm, that's the kind of shit I'm thinking about. I'm listening to classical music in my mind.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I use music for too. Sitting down. If I'm playing video games by myself, not talking to anyone, I'll have music up, and it helped me through Borderlands, the ultimate Vault Hunter mode, which is like one of the hardest things to do in video games.
Oh yeah, no, and that's one thing I was. It doesn't look like we're gonna have enough time to go through that genre. Video games is definitely something. If we do another podcast that is similar to how this one was, video games would be one that I'd want to touch on next, because I know that all of us huge fucking nerds, and we have probably more video games that have shaped us than anything else as far as, movies, TV shows, music.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I will suck Link's dick.
Jesus.
I will suck
I will
his-
blow it. I will suck in Kirby. I will suck him in myself.
I'll let Kirby absorb me.
I will just inhale Kirby. Gain Kirby powers.
You do understand he's just a child, right?
Fair point. I won't suck him that way.
He's
Good.
a child that
Just
eats
wanted to
people.
clarify.
Yeah, and it would be. Oh my god, I did. We'll have to do this again, because video games. That
Absolutely.
one's gonna be fun. But just to build on, we've got a couple minutes left. I'm gonna build a little further onto the music one. Music, it's kind of like the thing that is always there, but is never readily present. Like, we can hum songs in our minds and we can think about songs, and it's one of the things that can make it's probably the only thing left that can actually make me have kind of like an emotional reaction, especially with
Yeah.
classical music, because there's nothing there to steer. There's no words. There's nothing there to steer the emotion. You just lay back and you build your own story on top of it.
Like, I'll say probably my favorite soundtrack ever was from Bloodborne, because like my favorite boss out of that entire game was Gehrman, and the track behind him, Gehrman the First Hunter, like, oh my god. It's like if Beethoven and Bach just went and fucked and had a baby.
Yeah, the
Like-
music in that game was on point.
But seriously, it was so good. It just made you feel so sad for this character. Like, you felt like you were doing him a service by killing him, but
Yeah.
And the Halo soundtrack.
Oh
I mean,
my god.
I don't know about
Yeah.
like, in my life or anything, but when playing a video game, the fucking masterminds behind that soundtrack knew exactly what mood you were going to be in when you got to that point in the map, and knew exactly how to play the music to meet up to it.
Yep.
Flawless through and through the entire fucking franchise too.
Oh yeah, and that's probably one of the big hitters as far as soundtracks go. Even I'm not even an X bro. Like, I don't Xbox, but when I hear the fucking Halo theme from 2 miles away, I know what the fuck that is. Like,
Yeah.
But you understand.
yeah.
Skyrim is another amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
The fuck out of Skyrim. I haven't played it in a while, but every time I go in, I'm fucking screaming the intro song at the menu.
Mhm.
And there's the whole nother idea for a future thing, because I know we got to wrap things up here, but sound design in games.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
There's a lot I could
Then
gush.
it was sacrifice,
We
100%.
could jizz ourselves over that. And it is nice that we did get a touch on video games, even though we're not gonna
Oh yeah, we
get to fall.
got video games adjacent.
We
We're
got
like,
video games adjacent.
that's how
Yep.
that's how nerdy we are. We're like, we're talking about music. Let's talk about music in video games.
Yep.
But
Oh my god, yeah.
well, thank you to everybody who joined me, Gavins Alter, Harris, and Matt, also Explosive Rose, for the Name in Progress show. So I had a lot of fun this evening talking to you guys.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
Definitely. And thank you to everybody who's watching. Please stay tuned. We do this very regularly. It's usually a different structure every time, so you're going to get something new no matter when you watch it. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell for notification.
Ding ding!
All right.
Ding,
Well,
motherfucker.
Headbutt that like button.
Ding.
Just do it.
but the like button.
Ding
All right, well.
dong, motherfucker.
Good night, everybody, and take care.
Goodbye.
Later.